How hard is it to get a first date hookup? Hi there, men's dating coach HarryWilmington here, founder of introvertdatingsuccess.com. And on today's show, you're going to be learning about how it is you can get a woman to connect with you enough to want to have a successful first date hookup situation. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified of new videos every day. Also, be sure to go to the website to download my free ebook, Texting Like a Boss, as well as clicking on the tip jar tab to show your support, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Let's get into it. So this is more of an informal episode. I'm just kind of going to talk to you guys like we're hanging out together in my backyard or whatever. So on the previous show, I mentioned that I was talking to a friend of mine about her experience doing online dating. And in that show, I mentioned that my friend had a guy hit her up and basically say that he wanted to come over to her place and have her sit on his face. And she responded with, okay, I'd be cool with that. And so that really got me to thinking I wanted to do an episode about being able to get first date hookups based on my own experience. But it was interesting to hear a woman that I'm close friends with actually say that she was down for the get down on a first meetup, like without even having to have the date. Just if you want to come over, we'll do whatever and it'll be fine with me, because I think she's been single for a while and was like ready to do that. And so it's interesting because I think that sometimes guys really make the idea of getting sex on that first date like it's like this hard mountain to climb. And the reality is a good portion of women out there will most likely not agree to a first date hookup, whether it's because they feel some kind of way about themselves in terms of if they think they'll be viewed as like a hoe of some kind, or if they think that it's not within their morals, or they think that they need to really get to know a guy before they do that hookup. And I'm not honestly opposed to any of that, because I was the same way. I mean, I was a virgin until I was 23 because I was trying to wait until marriage because I felt that would be the best thing altogether in terms of my sex life. And that did not happen. I eventually had to do it. But since that time, there have been times where I've had first date hookups that were successful. And so as guys, we think that it's got to be all about what we want and what we need to do on our end to try to convince the girl into a hookup situation. But the reality is a lot of women will actually be open to a first date hookup. But very, very important, there are a few things that you need to make sure you're doing and not doing to see that this goes through and that you have a higher probability of it happening, okay? So I'm gonna just kind of go through what some of those things are based on my experience, and obviously, like, my friend had an experience, so I was just like, this is freaking awesome. So we'll start with my friend's experience, actually, okay? So here's this guy she meets online. She said that he was a really, really attractive looking guy, and he looked like a guy that could just get women, okay? And so that's important. I myself do a lot of online dating, so a good portion of this perspective does come from the idea of doing online dating. And I know there are some of you guys out there that'll say, well, I mean, online dating, of course, because it's a shoo-in. Like, most girls are on there just to get hookups anyway. But the reality is you can still mess that up, because a woman that might agree on the app to do some hookup stuff in that moment when you're talking to her might change her mind when she meets you in person if you're not keeping the same kind of consistency with who you are that she met and talked to on the app. Okay, so it can still go away, regardless of whether you met her in person and then agreed to a date later and hooked up, or whether you meet her online and agree to a date later and hook up or not. There's an opportunity that is there, okay? But for online dating specifically, if you're online and you're talking to her and you're having a good type of banter and you start to notice that there's like sexual innuendos coming out, then that's a very positive sign that this woman has the potential to want to agree to a first date hookup. And that's what I look for, is because I typically don't really bring up innuendos too early on. But if it's getting kind of flirty and she starts kind of mentioning things that indicate things in the sexual realm, then I just keep that in the back of my head, like, oh, like she's mentioning certain things about bedroom stuff or about sleeping or whatever. Like, oh, this could be the thing that she wants to do. Okay. So once you've got that part down, it's on the apps themselves, whether you're in person, whatever, it's very important that at the point you're able to score a date with the woman, that you stop talking. And the whole last episode was about how you need to, like, once you've made the sale, to stop talking. So if you've made a date with a woman on an app, or you made a date with a woman in person and said, hey, we should meet up sometime, let's do the X, Y, and Z or whatever, then once you've gotten the yes for that date, you need to stop talking, because you're now going to ruin your chances. And I go over that extensively in the previous episode, so be sure to check that out, okay? So yeah, but once you've got that agreement, and by the way, it doesn't have to be an agreement for a date. Like I typically talk about the best method of being able to make this happen is to be able to actually set up a date of some kind. But like I said, this guy had set up a date. And then after he mentioned the thing about having my friend sit on his face and she said yes, then they kind of were like, we could just bypass the date and you can just come over. And some women will be down for that. If you've had a good conversation and she's feeling you, you're funny, and she's feeling comfortable, then she might do that. And that's the thing. In order to really have a successful first date hookup, it really is all about building up as much comfortability as possible with the woman, whether it's you build it up enough on the app to have her already have just like come over and do whatever, or she come over to your place, or whether you have to go on the actual date and then do things during the date that are going to establish that comfortability even further. And so what I've done before is I've had it where I talk to girls on the app, and then I'll typically usually set up a date of some kind, whether it's like a short little dinner somewhere, or it used to be, like a movie, but we can't do that anymore because of the pandemic. But I have had situations also where I'd just be like, hey, you know what? I feel like I can cook for us tonight. You just come over and I'll cook a meal for us. And then next thing you know, the girl's over at my place. So you can set up situations and scenarios whereby a hookup is easy to get into. So the easiest ones I found is either A, inviting the girl over for a meal, or B, if you've really built up comfortability on the app, or when you the first time you met her, then you can suggest, hey, why don't I come and pick you up for this date? Okay. And the reason you can offer that is because basically if you pick her up from her place, you're going to have to drop her back off at her place. And that will give her the time to decide if when you drop her off, if she wants to invite you up. Okay. And that's why I say you want to set up scenarios where that possibility could happen. Okay. You also want to make sure that your place is clean, because I've dated several women that live near me, whereby if I go pick them up for a date and we have a good time, I can actually just drive them back to my place to do stuff. But if my place is in disarray, now I'm blocking myself. So what you're basically trying to do is you want to set it up to where any situation that you go into could result in a hookup happening to whereby you won't be blocked by it. So if you go pick her up, that's a scenario because you have to drop her off at her place anyway. If you want to do it at your place, you set your place up to look really, really nice, to smell good, to have lights and stuff dim already. So it's already a setup situation. Okay. But you want to do that. If you don't set up in advance how this could turn into one, then you trying to figure out later is going to be a cluster F of a situation. And the more confusion there is in you trying to figure out how this is going to happen, it's going to make the situation, at least for her, it's going to be a less confident situation. It's going to be one it's like, if it's too haphazard and too messy, she's going to be like, I don't know if I want to do this. This isn't really working out. And then she might be out. Okay. So you want to make it as effortless as possible. Now, if you set up a date, when you go on the actual date itself, all you're doing is building good vibes. That means no heavy subjects, not talking about her heavy past with any parents that got divorced or anybody that died in her family, whatever. You're keeping things light. You're keeping things funny. You're keeping things smooth. You're making sure all your movements are purposeful. So you're looking like you're in control. You're slowing down your speech a little bit. So you're kind of like looking like that chill guy that just has everything under control and is calm and cool and collected. But at the same time, you're making sure she's having a good time. You're making sure she's feeling the vibe. Whatever place you take her to, make sure it doesn't have to be an expensive place, but a nice enough place to where the atmosphere of it. The atmosphere for women typically is more important than what the cost of the actual place is. So you can find like a relatively cheap place that has a good atmosphere. I'd like to take women to pizza restaurants because I know some good ones here in LA that have a nice ambiance, but the pizza is also not that expensive, But regardless of that, you take her to a nice enough area where she feels comfortable, and then you just chat. You have a good time. You talk to her. In the course of that, ideally, you've built up enough pre-talk in terms of whether you met her or you talked to her online or whatever, to where you've had a good portion of innuendo and sexual banter. That didn't have to lead to you saying descriptively, hey, hey, by the way, if this date goes well, you're going to sit on my face, right? Like, you don't have to go that bold. But it was interesting in the conversation with my friend where she was saying, like, the fact that he said that, it threw her off a little bit, but it was just so bold of a declaration. And it was something that other guys aren't saying. And it was kind of like, yeah, women get horny too. And in that moment, she's like, you know what, it's been a while. So if he's putting this on the table, I know going on the date, he's taking me on the date specifically to hopefully get to this stage. If I'm feeling it already, we could just bypass all that. And that's the thing too. You have to also get out of your own head and read what the woman's doing. What signals is she sending your way? What signs, what kind of things that she's saying, what things is she wearing, how is she talking. I've had it where like girls at the end of the date straight up took me to their bedroom. And this is a time when I wasn't really in the space to understand that that meant it's a clear-cut sign that, oh, we can do some stuff. I had it one time where a girl came over to my place. This is before I had sex. So I invited a girl over for like food, for like dinner and a movie, not being aware that's a clear signal to women that a hookup's going to happen. And she came over and she wanted to see my place. And it's like, oh, let me see your place. Oh, what about your bedroom? Like she said that. So looking back, I'm like, oh shoot, that was the time that I could have done some stuff, and I just didn't take it. But the point is, women are going to be throwing out their own things, and it's going to be a little bit more passive in nature because they don't want to be the ones to boldly out say, hey, let's have sex right now. But if they're able to hint stuff to you and you get it, and you lead it to that situation, well, now she's going to be open because she's going to be like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Like I've heard so many girls say, when a guy knows what he's doing, when he's able to read the signals and like just take control of the situation, it's so attractive. Sometimes I just can't help myself but to want to jump his bones right there. Okay. So yeah, so you're making the date comfortable. You're having a good time on this date. And then as you're going either to her place or to your place, start talking about, possibly getting into her house, wanting to see like what her place looks like, or if she has any cool artwork, or if you want to take her back to your place, saying stuff like, I have really great artwork, or my place is kind of quirky and fun. I have this one really weird thing that's like really interesting that people just like always comment on when they see my place. But you're throwing these things out there because you want to make it easy for her to agree to either getting her into her place or you getting to her place or you taking her to your place. Okay. And if you don't throw something out there that allows her to latch on and have an excuse to go into your place outside of, we're going to go hook up and bone. And that's not to say that there aren't women out there that wouldn't just be like that, but the majority of them are looking for you to throw out a reason for them to be able to innocently go into your place to then later do some stuff. Okay. So yeah, but when that's thrown out there, like I remember I went on a date with a girl one time, I took her back to her place and she lived with roommates. So we got there and we were trying to sit in the driveway and we're just sitting there and I'm like, I had a great time. She's like, I had a great time too. I hug her, I kiss her, and I kissed her on the date. That's the thing too. I find this is a lot easier if you actually kiss the woman sometime during the date. Like a lot of guys will wait until like the end of the date to try to go for a kiss. But if you've done your due diligence by pre-gaming this woman on these apps or in person to where it's like she's already feeling certain things, she's already doing that sexual talk and you're already kind of having that vibe, then yeah, midway through the date, you should be just kind of like laughing and joking with her and then just kind of look at her and kiss her. If she accepts the kiss midway through the date, it's easier to do a lot more stuff later on because you've already started that engine. So you kiss her and you just kind of go on to the next thing and do whatever. But that's going to lead later to her being more open to the idea of you guys possibly hooking up on that first date. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So then at the point at which, so I'm sitting in the driveway with the girl and then I give her a hug and a kiss and then she's just sitting in my car. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try some stuff. Like I really expected to just drop off at her place, but she seems to not want to go. And I live like 5 minutes from where she lives. So if she wants to do something, it's a hop, skip, and a jump to get to my place. So I just innocently said to her, hey, if you still want to hang out some more, we can go to my place. It's like 5 minutes away. I got Netflix. I got a computer. I got some food. We can just kind of hang out for a little while. And keep in mind, this is at like 11:30 at night. Okay, so saying this, I know by saying this that she's going to get that, and we can do some other stuff because it's 11:30 at night, and who's coming to hang out at 11:30 at night unless you're trying to do some stuff? And her response was, you know what, that'd be great. That'd be a great idea. Fast forward to like 20 minutes later, and we are hooking up at my place on the first date. But the thing is, again, I was building comfort as far back as the dating app. I was building comfort as far back as the actual date where we went to a couple of spots. I kept trying to take her to these various spots, but they were so full because it was Taco Tuesday. It was a Tuesday night and it was full, all these places. I took her to like 3 different places. But when I was trying to take her to the first place and it was full, I was like, you know what? I know another place, no big deal. We go to that place, you know what? I know another place, no big deal. I already had in my head a full plan of if these places don't work out, I have 3 other places I can take this girl to so we can still eat and have a good time. And that was able to show her how calm and collected and women like men that know how to plan and know how to plan contingencies in their plan. So it made it very easy to build comfort. Then we got to the restaurant, we're just sitting there talking and laughing and I'm keeping my movements kind of calm and smooth, but I'm also like, connecting with her. And again, as I'm doing this, all I'm doing is just building comfort in her to trust me. I want you to trust me. Our conversation's good. I'm not bringing up too many innuendos on the date, but I know that that's a possibility there. But I'm still like, by the way, you look really good tonight and whatever, talking about other things, making her laugh, etc., to where I've now built up the fact that I'm a guy that's trustworthy. And also, she was wanting it and I was wanting it. And once she said it's cool to come to my place, I shut up. I didn't be like, are you sure you're going to come to my place? Because the thing is, like, I know we just met on this first date and it's going to be kind of awkward and I don't want to make you feel kind of blah, blah. No, I just like, all right, cool. Let's go. Boom. Done. It's a wrap. You're going over there. Okay. So look at my notes here because I put a bunch of notes about this. So yeah, and I'll understand very, very important too is like sometimes guys will feel hesitant because they're thinking, well, I would hook up with her if I didn't think that she was a long-term prospect. But since I do see this possibly being a thing, I don't want to ruin that by hooking up the first night and making her feel some kind of way. And I'll be honest, guy, that's what typically happens is this. The reason that can happen whereby you hook up with a girl and then she starts suddenly acting all weird and going away is because most guys, after that first hookup, automatically in their head assume, yep, we're in a relationship. Oh, we hooked up, so now we're together. And then they start overcompensating after they've hooked up and doing things that as if they're already in the boyfriend realm when they are not. So for example, you might be a guy that's experienced before, like you have a first date hookup, and then you're thinking, yep, I'm there. And now you're over calling her, over texting her, trying to set up the next 5 dates in the same week. And even if you have a first date hookup, you still got to wait 3 months before you get into a relationship. So if you're trying to jump the gun and do that stuff, yeah, that's where that first date hookup's going to look like, oh, the first date hookup ruined my chances with her. When it was like, really, no, the actions you did after that first date hookup is what ruined it. But if you can keep in your head that this first date hookup is just part of the finding out about her process and that it doesn't mean that you guys are automatically in a relationship, then you can have a first date hookup that can still eventually lead to a relationship. Just be mindful of the seriousness of your actions afterwards. It's not really a hard thing to do if you just get out of your head, if you know to present this option and to know if she says yes to it, that you just shut up and just go with it and not try to talk her out of it. Because I know as a guy, as a nice guy, you're thinking, man, I want to make sure 100% that she's into this. But if she says, emphatically, if she says, yes, I'm cool, yeah, I'll come over, I'll be down for that, she's already telling you that she is a grown woman, is saying, I am cool with the action of us hooking up and having that intimate connection tonight. You do not have to try to delve further into her psyche or think that she has to be more talked into it than she already is to make this a go. It's only when you start over talking that you end up getting a no, which again, I talked about extensively in the last episode. So please, please, please check out that episode. It will teach you everything you need to know about why it's important not to over talk your way into a girl's pants and then subsequently out of her pants because of saying too much. Now that you've heard from me, I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever had a first date hookup? If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below or write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Are you ready to learn killer icebreakers that work with women on dating apps? Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com right now to watch my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps without using sleazy pickup lines, which will give you key secrets to sparking attraction and conversations with women online the smart way. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video, and watch new episodes 7 days a week right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out the other episodes so you too can learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.